All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I expect some people will kind of trickle in as we go, which will be fine. We'll always have the recording. So just so everybody's aware, we are recording this session and we'll be most likely posting it to YouTube and the website at some point. So just to kind of talk about what we're doing today, this is kind of part of our new SNAC school program, which will be focusing more on the technical aspects of SNAC now that we have our working groups back up and running. We have our chair of the technical infrastructure working group, Mayor Stella Fusel, who will be leading the OpenRefine section of the demo today. Mayor Stella, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm the Music Special Collections Librarian at the University of North Texas, and I've been involved with SNAC since 2020. And yeah, I have really enjoyed working with it, and I also have a long passion for OpenRefine. So happy to bring the two together.
Thank you. To introduce myself real quick, I'm the training and outreach coordinator for the Indigenized Snack project, which I'll share that link in the chat right now. Here's a little homepage for our website. And so a lot of our programming comes from the Mellon Foundation. We got a grant that started last year. And so a lot of the programming we've been able to offer to the public has been brought to you by that. Feel free to check out the website. There's plenty of information there about what that project entails. I'm also the chair of the outreach working group for the SNAC cooperative as a whole. Promoting events like this and other things that are kind of happening. And we're joined by our SNAC director, Jerry, and some other members of the team as well today. Jerry, I think is um, Jerry, you're more than welcome to introduce yourself, but I know you've got a lot going on. So if you're just listening, that's fine.
That's okay. I'm happy to be here today to lend support as I can. I'm Jerry Simmons. I'm the director of SNAC. I'm also the lead instructor of the SNAC school on the Indigenized SNAC project at University of Maryland. So welcome to everyone. And I know that this event is in expert hands. So go Maristella.
Thank you, Jerry. So we got a mixed kind of bag of registrants for this event. About half of folks are new or have never used Snack before, so I wanted to give a quick run through of the website. I'll copy the URL into the chat for folks who might want to follow along. So SNAC is social networks in archival context. It is a research tool in which you can search for historical people, corporate bodies, and families, and you'll be able to find biographical histories about different entities in SNAC and the different repositories that might hold information about that particular entity or relationships with others. So I'm going to actually navigate away from the main kind of functional part of the page, just go through the about pages where you can learn a little bit more about SNAC. There's tons of instructional videos, quick little things for you to watch if you're interested in learning a little bit more. When you get to this page, you'll see kind of the landing page, which is very kind of rudimentary. What is SNAC? Moving to the Get to Know Us page, you can learn about the state of the cooperative, our governance, organizational chart, and then history and development. We're in phase 3 now, which is kind of expanding capacity and community. And this, again, has been brought kind of in large part thanks to the Mellon Foundation and the funding going on with that. So always looking forward to new partnerships and projects that we can kind of help folks with. So please reach out to snack.cooperative@gmail.com if you have any special projects you might want to work on with us. You can find ways to get involved. We have tons of events per year. There's at least 10 events, I would say, per year at any given time since I've started anyway. We have editathons. You can be a member. There's obviously Snack School. We welcome folks to engage with us in professional development, scholarship, conferences, you name it, we're interested in working with you. There's a calendar of events at the bottom of that page there as well. For more information about SNAC School, you can go to the SNAC School page, where there are links to different resources, a rundown of the different courses we usually offer, which include research and reference, the create and edit module, train the trainer for folks who want to learn how to teach SNAC School, and then technical workshops, which we're kind of debuting today. We've technically done one before, but now it's kind of like a real thing that we're trying to do. And then we have our SNAC School calendar at the very bottom. So we break it into winter, spring semester and summer, fall. Registration is open for all future events. So please check that out. The tech workshop's not open yet until we decide on a topic, but we should be figuring that out shortly. There's also a resource library. So you'll find editorial policies here. These are really helpful guides for creating and editing and adjusting corporate body entities. There's demographic statements. We've got editorial guides, all kinds of stuff for you to check out there. And then there are SNAC school resources. So you can find different educational videos and slide decks for the different modules that we offer on this page. And then for probably important usage today, there is technical resources. So I'll copy that link into the chat as well. You can find developer resources, OpenRefine resources, which is what we'll be focusing on today. There's some different documentation and a demo of from our November pre-debut tech workshop of an OpenRefine SNAC demo. We've got an archive space resource section with another demo available there. And then last but not least, there are some FAQ questions on there as well. And then for those who are interested in kind of what's going on in the world of SNAC, we do a monthly blog post, and then once every quarter, we will send out an email blast that kind of summarizes what's going on. So tons of ways to keep engaged with us on our website. Going back to kind of the functional side of SNAC, like how it's used, it is a research tool. So you can search for different people, corporate body, and family entities in SNAC. So for an example, we'll use Carlos Chavez, who was a composer and one of Maristella's recommendations for a good SNAC record for us to take a look at. So you can search for people just by last name, etc. As you saw, it'll kind of populate with a list of suggestions. In this case, the first one was the one we're looking for. So we'll go ahead and hit search, and it'll bring you right directly to his entity record link. And once you navigate there, you'll find a biography, resources from all the different holding repositories. And you can actually click here to see a map of all the different locations. So it really shows you how the archival diaspora can kind of spread out even for one single person. There's also relationships. So you'll see individuals and corporate bodies and families that this person was associated with, or folks they corresponded with, so on and so forth. There are a handful of, well, quite a few handfuls of different relationship types, and we learn a lot more about that in SNAC School Create and Edit. And then there can be places, subjects, and occupations associated with different entities as well. So one of the powerful tools here is going to the resources. You can navigate directly to the American Music Edition records, which are held at the Music Library. He was the creator of those particular records. And, oh, well, that's something we should fix in SNAC School. That link doesn't work anymore, but let's do this one instead. New York Public Library is usually pretty good. So this navigates to a WorldCat document and actually just navigated to UMD's library source because that's where I'm signed in. But you can find information from there as well. And then now let's see if I can go back. Here we go. And then for relationships, you can also navigate to different entities in SNAC, and you can see visual representation of those relationships, either from 1 degree of separation up to, I think, 3. And there's a couple of different ways to do that. So if you're interested in learning more about the kind of functional side of SNAC, we do have a research and reference video on our YouTube page, and there is one on our website as well. Or you can attend one of our future research and reference classes in the future. So that was just a really quick, brief demo of SNAC and its functionality. But we're here today to talk about OpenRefine specifically. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing screen and pass it back to Maristella.
Thanks, and I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Here we are. All right, so if that worked, you can see a slideshow. So we're underway there, and so again, we'll look at OpenRefine basics today, and then also uh, how to apply those to particular tasks in SNAC. And one of the things I always like to point out is that these are broadly transferable skills. So there's a lot, hopefully, in this that you can reuse or apply elsewhere. So what we'll cover today is first, why OpenRefine is so useful here. We'll look through OpenRefine's core functions, and we'll work with some data on transforming the raw version of a data set I recently worked with and eventually uploaded information to SNAC. We'll look at the mechanics of the OpenRefine plugin in particular for SNAC. There's actually 3 demonstrations of a SNAC features in OpenRefine, because as we'll see, there's 3 kinds of data that you can move with the OpenRefine plugin. So one of the challenges with demonstrating OpenRefine is finding a good use case that's going to cover what you want to demonstrate. And I always like to point to the sort of 80-20 software rule, where 80% of the time you kind of have a beaten path of 20% of the functionality. So it's great to bring practitioners together, because the more users we have in one place, the more we get off of our own beaten paths. And so OpenRefine, as you'll see, is very densely packed with options, and a lot of times there's more than one way to do something. So for the sake of this demonstration, there are cases where I've picked one so that we have one initial path through the workflow with hopefully not causing information overload. So the things that are particularly useful here about OpenRefine are that it's primarily a graphic user interface, so that you can interact with it like other apps on your PC. But there are options for incorporating code in different ways, either exporting a script from OpenRefine to repeat the things you've done. There's also a lot of regular expressions that can be of use in OpenRefine and really extends its functionality. Uh, OpenRefine itself has so many functions, as you'll see. It's just packed with features, and there are some I got into OpenRefine I think around 2014, and there are still things that I've never really used. So it's just a massive program and extremely versatile. It imports and exports a wide variety of data types. So uh, Excel is one, but then also outside of proprietary formats, there are CSV, comma separated value, TSV, tab separated value, and we'll see when we look at opening a project that there are just a variety of data types that OpenRefine can make sense of, and then as you work through the functions that it provides, you can make more sense of the data. And as with the plugin, it connects with other systems and vocabularies, and others that OpenRefine connects with are Wikidata and the Virtual International Authority file. So there are ways to get your data connected with authoritative sources and controlled values. So that can be a great time saver. And then it's also easy to reuse and share data and workflows, because you can either export the project as is for someone to OpenRefine, or you can export pretty much as many file formats as OpenRefine will import. So it's really easy to repurpose data, because it's often the case that you have data in some form, but it's not the form you need on some level for the task at hand. So OpenRefine really removes barriers there. So we'll be looking at two levels of general use. One is the general use of OpenRefine, getting your data arranged and internally consistent with OpenRefine's core functions, and then our specific use is getting data in the right form to upload to SNAC with the plugin. And it's just fantastic that with OpenRefine, the same program lets us do both these things: standardize the data and move it along where it needs to go. So we'll start with a demonstration of OpenRefine basics, and then we'll look at SNAC specific demonstrations. So the first one will be just the most basic case of suppose you already have your data set, and this is how the plugin works. And then so we'll kind of start with the goal and build backwards, because the steps make more sense in context. So I'm going to jump out of the slideshow, and again, one of the great things about OpenRefine is that it handles so many data types, and this includes plain text. So the data set I'm working with here, I went to our digital library page. This is a new collection where we're constantly adding new items to. If you know about the University of North Texas, it has the oldest 4-year jazz program in the U.S. And an accredited school, and so the flagship ensemble at UNT has been nominated for Grammys. They've played for presidents. They've played for royalty overseas, and it's just and so there's a lot of original and unique work. And so if you're not familiar with the term chart library, often a set of parts for a jazz ensemble will be called as charts for short. So where I got the data we're working from is basically that I just highlighted, dragged, copied, and pasted, and I'll open the open column so that you can see again. There's the range of file types that are supported, and then also you can just copy and paste plain text. So that brings us to this data set in its raw form. And so the first thing I want to do, since there are 168 rows of data here, are want to be able to see them all. So I'm going to select to view 500 at once, and so that gets me my full set. And so you can see when you paste in plain text, you naturally start with a single column. So one thing it's always good to do whenever you when you upload new data is we're going to go to the drop down menu, and every successive column will have this drop down menu. There's a special global drop down menu all the way to the left, but it's drop down menus upon drop down menus. First thing we want to do is go to common transforms and trim leading and trailing white space. So that worked well, and collapse consecutive white space. And the reason we do this is to make sure that things that are that would be considered the same to the human eye are actually literally the same to the computer, so that it's stray white space or you know other other leading and trailing space doesn't differentiate things that shouldn't be differentiated. So that's an initial step. Um, another thing we can do, and this speaks to the importance of formatting your data consistently in whatever format you're in. Um, we see here that we have a lot of columns with a data type separated by a colon. So what we're going to do to separate those is go to edit column, split into several columns, and we're going to use the colon as our separator. It's always good to specify the number of columns you want. This way, if it's only the first separator that you're interested in splitting, this will limit you to just the first one going from left to right, so that otherwise it can surprise you. And we'll look in a minute at the undo function, because things do happen. So we're gonna hit OK, and so now we have almost entirely data types on the left, and values for those on the right. And this is where it's good to do another round of trimming leading and trailing white space, because splitting by that separator, the computer takes it completely literally, of course, and so the space that was after the colon gets transferred over to the next column in the split. So another feature to know about is, of course, the undo button. And the nice thing about OpenRefine is that you can step all the way back and start over. Or if something didn't have the result you wanted, you can you can step back to where you were last happy with your data. So the one thing it doesn't do is like line item undoing, so that I can't go in and selectively zap step 2, but I can step forwards and backwards, and that can save a lot of time. While we're on this tab, if you're doing repetitive operations with data, and you're going to get another data set where you're going to have to do the same things as this data set, OpenRefine offers you the ability to extract your entire command history and export it as a script. So if I had more data come along that needed the same kind of work, I would have a script and be able to automate any number of operations that would save time going forward. So there's the option of exporting scripts, and then what you would do if you had one of those is to paste your extracted JSON history, JavaScript object notation in there, and that would let you repeat that process without having to go by hand. If you're on a laptop like I am today, you may find that some OpenRefine windows are too large for the display, and the complicating factor is that the thing you use to close out of them is under the end of your screen. So what you can do is on a PC, it's function F11, and just toggle to full screen, and that will let you dismiss the window and then function in F11 again to get back where you were. So there's one option. Next thing we're going to look at is text faceting, because while OpenRefine will let you edit cell by cell, you just click edit and you get a pop-up window to do edits if you have a single edit. But this gets really useful when you're dealing with thousands and thousands of lines of data, to not have to go through and look for needles in a haystack. You have the facet function, and there are a bunch of these. There's another we'll look at momentarily. And so the text facet will give you every unique value in that column. And so it can be a great way to see kind of what your data set is about, because by compressing it to unique items and showing counts, you can see, for instance, the overview of titles might be enlightening, that they're both student composers and more well-known composers like Rodgers and Hammerstein. Another enlightening bit of information is that we can see there are some standard jazz tunes like Green Dolphin Street, but then there are also original tunes. So faceting can let you get a good sense of the aboutness of your data. And then the other thing we can do here is we have 24 of these rows where the copy and paste process just included this kind of garbled, I guess probably a hyperlink whose text got copied and pasted. So what we can do is click edit, and take the unwanted text off and apply. And we've just done that for 24 cells at once. So that just becomes a bigger labor saver with the size of the data set that you have. So we've looked at splitting columns. We've looked at faceting and editing. Let's see, that wasn't what I wanted to do. There's also word facet, which is useful for one thing as it's every unique appearance of a word or some string of characters in the column. So one thing that this winds up being useful for is as a spell check, because if you have a cluster of slight misspellings, they're easy to resolve at once. This one, it doesn't allow you to edit inline, but you can click on them and then see the every entry with that, and in this case the word score. So another function that this sets up to demonstrate is that while the edit button for each cell can be for single edits, you also have this middle button here to apply to all identical cells. So say, for instance, just aesthetically, I want spaces around that /. So instead of and then showing that there are usually multiple ways of doing things. Facet would have been another way to do this, but another one here is to apply it to all identical cells, and that takes care of it right away. So I think the last of the basic functions that we want to look at is clustering, and the effectiveness of these depends a lot on your data set and what's in it, but also what issues it has. So your mileage can really vary. This is such a small data set, I don't know if it will pull anything up. The sound-alike ones usually do. So there's a useful one, and it's something where you do want to have someone look it over and see if the match that it's proposing is useful. Again, here the sound-alike algorithm is just kind of funny with numbers, because what do numbers sound like? And then here we have a proposed match where there is a difference. There's a full score in parts versus a score in parts, and so those can also be great for tracking variations that you wouldn't otherwise find under search and replace. So that's the clustering function. And then one other thing, let's see, actually two other things. Say I wanted to just pull the composer names out of this, and there's not some other facet that makes that happen. There's the stars on the left, where you can make your own facet and facet by star, and then select the true ones. So what we can do from here is, in talking about OpenRefine playing well with others, this would let us branch out to reconciliation services, including SNAC. So one thing I did with this data set was go through and see who already had a SNAC record, whose SNAC records needed to be merged, and because there were duplicate or multiple entries for one person, and so that let me know how many people would need new SNAC records for upload. So again, you can walk through and see, and so yeah, these are all pretty tidy. And so then once the reconciliation process has gone through, and the time varies on the size of the data set, I can add a column with the URLs of the matched entities, and we're just going to call it matched. And so then you get a SNAC link with the ID, and you can also pull just the identifiers. So we're going to call that ID. And now we have just the SNAC IDs. So we can say these three people have SNAC records, and those are what they are. So that lets us continue with ones that actually need new SNAC records. So it's for these demonstrations, to save time, there's always these moments like a cooking show where they've chopped the vegetables and then they pull the perfectly completed dish from under the counter. So the final form that this data set had, for the people who needed SNAC records is on this next tab. And so you can see the various data fields there. And this may seem overwhelming, but this is where the SNAC plugin has your data values and the ingredients for a template baked in. So if I go to the drop-down menu for the SNAC plugin, and I look at edit SNAC schema, and this is one I've already worked through, so they're all matched. So others of these, if I deselect, they go over to a drag and drop menu over to the right. So the OpenRefine columns are on the left. The SNAC schema categories are on the right. So basically, this becomes a list of column headers for compiling your data. And so we're going to pop over briefly back to the slides, and so that was demonstration one, using already compiled data to use the plugin, and then jumping back over again, making sure I've covered everything I wanted to. If we go to validate with SNAC, and I'm in the SNAC dev environment because I don't want to push to live data in the demonstration. I can validate, and this is a good step to make sure your data is in good working order with no issues, although there's a tab up here that'll also flag issues and give you a preview of what your data fields are going to look like. So if we go back to our data, what we find is you have two new columns now, and what you want to see is success, and then no news is good news. So if the message is blank, that's all good to go, and then you would use upload to SNAC, and it will confirm which environment you're working with. So So the dry run of the upload makes sure that you don't have a partially successful upload and then things to go back and redo. So hopping back now, we've looked at all of those steps, and it's important to acknowledge too that there are non-data prerequisites for what we just looked at. One is installing OpenRefine and the SNAC plugin, and then also obtaining a SNAC API key. And our technical resources section has information on that. So to move on to the next demonstration, and this one's pretty quick. If we go back to the data set that we validated and click on Edit SNAC Schema, you may have noticed that there are three options up here for what kind of data you want to upload. So these are kind of the three pieces of the data that goes into SNAC. You have the corporate bodies, persons, and families. You have the collection resources, and then you need something to associate them. So that's the SNAC join model. So for resources, this one you can see a raw instance of the drag and drop menu. So it's again it's a kind of a ready-made template for what data columns you would want to compile if you're compiling data from scratch. And so let's see. So an example of that table for this collection, and it's only one row because these all belong to the Jazz Studies chart library. And you can see that this has already been uploaded by that process. So you have the information there, and it in this case it does include the API response. So that that gets the collection that's relevant here into SNAC, and then let's see, and then we have the join table. So this one is a short one. You can have, just as you can have very elaborate constellations, and Scotty demonstrated the multiple degrees of connections that we're able to track. This one for now just has the collection creators, and so I believe with this one you can see the column to column matches. And so let's see, and then that brings us to demonstration 3, which kind of springboarding off of our look at the core functions. In light of the goal we have for getting things uploaded through the SNAC plugin, we have a context for what we want to do to get our data there. So the usual tasks, of course, are having data in the first place, and there are multiple ways to go about that we'll talk about shortly. What we did in the overview, making things consistent, finding things, and automating mass edits. parsing data so that the right information appears in the right columns. You may need to add columns and also fill in SNAC specific information that uh, that, for instance, a data set compiled elsewhere may not already have. So for the options to get your data to work with, in some cases you compile the specific data you need, and that's what we did. If you watched the video from November demonstrating the Native American boarding school data, um, that was one that was compiled by subject experts and then OpenRefine for upload. You can also OpenRefine pre-existing data from some other source. So that's what we did with the chart library. We copied and pasted from the digital library and got to work. Another one I wanted to highlight: if your institution already has resources in SNAC, then your repositories in SNAC, and it's possible to export your holdings. And so I'm going to find the tab that I used for this one. Here we are. So this is the repository page for the UNT Music Library, and so it's mostly things that we've consciously added, but there are also items that came in the ingest that have, especially from our oral history collections that are present. So the tab of interest here is, oops, not sure what that was. Let's see. And while that loads, what we can work on is the resource holdings export, and that'll give you tabular data with everything your repository has in SNAC. So that's something where recently, because we've been contributing to SNAC across multiple eras of archival management systems, we finally went in, now that we're on archive space and expect to be there for a long time, and updated our collection URLs using this resource spreadsheet. So that's another application and another source of data to work with. So the next thing to know about, and this is just quite a force multiplier, and we use archive space at UNT, but any management system that exports EAD should be able to work with this. So I'm going to go ahead and log in again, because I'm sure that has expired. So and it's via a Google account that you log in. So that's if not universal, that's very widely used. So that smooths access to the SNAC system. And now I can go to dashboards, and most of the time I'm in the editor dashboard. We also have these mysterious dashboards down here, like processing, and what the processing dashboard lets you do. And we remember that the schema has these three different data files that it'll take in. This will let you export EAD files from your archival management system, compress them in a zip file, and then press choose file and upload the zip file here. and extract TSV from EAD. And what this does is generates 3 TSV files for those with a line for each collection. Again, tab separated value, so it's readable in Excel as familiar tabular data. But this gives you those 3 files with those same data fields in the as in the schema. They're named slightly differently, so that can take some translation. But what you wind up with is a, a CPF file, a resource file, and a join file. So on the join file, a lot's going to depend on what you've included in your local system. But that gives you something that just needs some last mile prep work to be loaded into OpenRefine, and then can become what you upload into SNAC. So really impressive labor saving opportunities there in not having to reinvent this information when it's already in your archival management system. So popping over again to the slides. So that and I, of course, this video will be posted, and I'm happy to make these slides available. But that summarizes the process of being able to do batch exports and and batch imports and then exports of the TSV files that you need for OpenRefine. A few more things on the join file. That's probably the one that's the most labor intensive, but it's also what really sets archival authority records apart in being able to track connect all the various connections that SNAC can record as structured data. So this is where we do get into a critical path where something has to happen before something else. So to refer to things in the join file, you'll notice there are SNAC IDs. So unlike the CPF and resource ones, we, instead of creating records in SNAC, we need to refer to records that already exist. So that's one thing that takes a little more work there. And then, of course, with the ability to add connections, really the sky's the limit there. Yeah, whatever is relevant for your collection, where it's just, I think time and labor are the biggest constraint on really going to town with connections, but it's also possible to prioritize important ones. And so those are the 3 pieces of SNAC data that put the puzzle together with the CPFs, the resources, and connections. So I think So again, to recap, there are those three kinds of data, and there are a lot of ways to get data to work with. Sometimes it doesn't exist and you need to compile it. Uh, other times you can use OpenRefine to make data from another that serves another purpose work for this purpose, or you can export from the SNAC production dashboard. And again, OpenRefine consolidates steps by letting you clean up your data and upload it in the same place, and you really start to develop a kind of personal OpenRefine toolkit based on the nature of the data you work with that can really transfer nicely to other tasks. And there's, again, I've been working with OpenRefine for about 12 years now, and there's still areas where the nature of music archival data haven't really taken me yet, but it just speaks to the functionality of the program, and that all of that is leveraged to our benefit in the plugin. So I always say the challenge with SNAC is deciding what not to talk about, because there's so much SNAC and OpenRefine really, because it's so wide ranging. But I do want to pause at this point for questions.
Thanks, Maristella. There's no questions in the chat so far.
Okay.
But I just kind of wanted to summarize for myself, and I see Cliff has his hand raised. So I can actually segue into something, and then
Cool.
Cliff can ask his question. So it sounds like the two kind of things are you can like if you're a SNAC editor, you can export stuff from SNAC and then work on merging or whatever for your institution or just a topic you're really interested in. But the other way, the two-way street of that is if you have EAD framework, you can also export your own data to then get ready for SNAC. And so I think both of those are really great tasks, but I think the functionality of OpenRefine was discussed more in like the other class that we offered. And so just as kind of a plug for collaboration, um, in Cliff's case, for example, where there's all these records that they might want to be ingesting into SNAC, is if folks on the tech infrastructure working group or elsewhere would be able to work with people individually to kind of troubleshoot or go over specific steps that they're not quite getting or whatever it may be in the future.
Definitely, and that's that's one of the really handy things about the validate function, where, for instance, with this data set, I reached a point where I thought, I don't know if I'm done yet, so I'm going to hit validate and see what it tells me.
Mm-hmm. Great. Go ahead and follow up on that, Cliff, if your questions still apply.
Yeah, thanks.
Mhm.
So thank you for this first and foremost, Marisol. This is very helpful, especially being
Thanks.
able to see the overview and see it kind of end to end and the different types of data that we can potentially work with. Um, Mentally kind of taking a step back and looking at the scope of the work in front of me,
Mhm.
I can see that there's a good, I pulled it up in my data editor. It looks like there's 344 records that are already in SNAC from Georgia Tech, from my institution. All but four of those are from old WorldCat records that got ingested back in the day,
Oh yeah.
in the early days of SNAC, as we know. Um, and then I was sort of kind of walking through the archive space EAD export to the processing dashboard, trying to like kind of generally follow the steps as a first experiment. I noticed that you have to zip up the XML files that get exported from archive space in order for the SNAC processing dashboard to process them. Um, do you recommend doing, I mean, I'm probably going to do these one at a time just until I get comfortable with them. But do you recommend like working in batches, like doing multiple finding aids or multiple resource records at a time using this processing dashboard to like prepare it to go into OpenRefine? Or like in your work, how much do you batch your work? I guess is one of the questions I'm trying to ask.
It's definitely an iterative approach for me, and similarly, I try to get one to work first, and then as I feel more like I have a process that I can replicate, then the batches increase in size.
That makes sense. That makes
But
sense.
oh yeah, and I wanted to mention, if you if you do want to run just one file through the processing dashboard, you still compress it to a zip file. So so it's a that's an extra step, but then you get three files for the price of one.
Right, right. Which is good, which is good. I guess my follow-up question is, since I have so many of these old WorldCat records, what is the sort of SNAC best practice when it comes to either, like I can see either trying to edit those records to make them reflect the current finding aid, or ingesting my finding aid EAD XML and then merging with the WorldCat record? Like what's the best practice for either cleaning up or deleting old WorldCat records or merging them or aligning them? Like what do you guys recommend for that?
That's a that's a really really timely question, because definitely with SNAC, we're we're at a point of maturity too, where it's no longer a new service, and quite a number of years have passed between the initial ingest and current files. So really, I'd say we're still in the process of establishing best practices for a new iteration of your data, but you would have the option of exporting the holdings, and then editing those in OpenRefine and re-uploading them. One one characteristic we've noticed with the uploads is that um, they not not all the not all the fields, if any of them, seem to overwrite upon upload, but they get added. So there may still be some things to go in and delete by hand, but editing the existing records would save the merge or delete process.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So merge into the existing WorldCat, or ingest into the existing WorldCat record, but then be aware that you might be appending data if there's already data in that field. So you might have to go in and delete the other value.
Yeah. So for instance,
Okay.
yeah, popping back to our tab of recently updated collections, they're all the correct URL now. We didn't get in on the ground floor enough to have the WorldCat issue, but for instance, when I did the initial export, this had our old Archon system URLs. It had some from the state consortium Texas Archival Resources Online. So this way I had just one column of links to go through and replace. So
Excellent. Thank
does
you.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yes. But I may be reaching out to request a ride
Oh
along
yeah,
at some point if I
sure.
not if, but when I start to struggle with this, I'm probably going to request a ride along from somebody. So thank you.
Oh yeah. Other other questions? Let's see. So one other function that I meant to demonstrate while we were working with the raw data is to pop back out to the full data set is another way to really expand the functionality of OpenRefine so that you have this transform function, and this lets you work in general refine expression language or GREL, which leans heavily on regular expressions. So anywhere that you can find a regular expression cheat sheet that can help you with pinpointing patterns to identify for mass edits. And so you have this menu here where that by default says value, and so if you need to prepend data, you can go and you add your additional data in quotation marks and then say plus value, and say just to make something happen in the preview. Say I wanted to have jazz studies, and it takes things literally, so you need to supply the space as well. So that's one use. Another that I use most frequently is value dot replace, and the key here is that you put the thing you want to replace. Say I want to swap out creator and be more specific and use composer. So I put the word I want to replace, or the string or whatever, on the left in quotation marks, and then on the right I add in quotation marks what I want to replace it with. So now you can see that becomes composer, and that also can be a huge time saver for more targeted edits and more complex find and replace options than you can do with Control F in other programs. And then another handy thing to know about is this history tab, so that if there are multiple things I want to go through and find and replace, like say for instance I want to change musical score / notation to chart, I could, if I didn't already have it here, I can go into my command history and reuse previous commands. So this can be extremely useful, and you can see it's not only for changing text strings, but for cleaning out weird little things that come in with OCR and HTML artifacts. So, and also character encoding things. So there are a lot of uses there. And then that way it also saves having to remember if there was a command you used recently that was really useful. OpenRefine remembers. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And then let's see, looking at our starred entries there, I'm going to add a few more of those. These were things I skipped over because I thought I was going to run out run out of time, and then it worked out fine. So starring a few more composers to show what we're able to sort by. And so again, if we facet by star and click true to get the ones that we starred, if we want to alphabetize this list, we can drop down and click sort. And so by default, it will look for text strings, but you can also specify sorting by numbers or dates. Say you wanted to sort by the earliest born composer to the youngest in your data set, so that lets you sort by any number of parameters. And then the nice thing is, in addition to the undo button, you can also opt in or opt out of, whether this is really how you want your information sorted. And while you're in a text facet, you can export just those items. So it's possible to use the drop down and export just a spreadsheet of composers' names. So that can be really useful. It is important to know, when you're sorting numerically, that it'll handle text strings differently than what it understands to be numbers. So if I close out of those, and this is where you can see it. It alphabetized everything. Once I removed the facet, the sort is still in effect, and it alphabetized everything by this second column. So I can remove the sort, and then if I wanted to sort by SNAC ID number, I'd want to dig into the drop-down menus again, and common transforms, and to number. And so then that signals to the system that you are dealing in numbers. So it'll treat them as such. Similarly with the dates here, there is a way to, or a command rather, in that section to say these are dates, and then see. I'm not even sure where that went, so I'm going to go to my undo menu and go from there. So there, it's a. I like to compare it to having a kitchen full of little drawers with these columns, and so there's just so much to know about. And then also one other functionality that we looked at with columns was splitting, and we're also able to split with cells. So in this case, let me see what star facets I have. Okay. That's my star and true. Oh, I still have the leftover one, but so there's that. And then say I want Rogers and Hammerstein to be in there as individuals. So it's also possible to go to edit cells, and similarly, there's split multi-valued cells, and they're separated by an ampersand. So I can make that the splitter, and let's see. I think the issue here is sometimes it becomes necessary to toggle between rows and records, because what we have going on here is the fact that once we have multi-valued cells, these become records, so that it is possible to bundle information under one record, rather than having just an undifferentiated series of rows. So that lets OpenRefine treat those like a package deal. So, for instance, when you have the multiple subject headings and so on, these are treated as records, so that all of this information belongs to Jim Milne and doesn't get conflated with someone else's entry. So I'll pause it again there for questions. And yeah, I hope that covered some useful things. Really, the best way to get comfortable with OpenRefine is to start using it. And for there are demonstration data sets. There are you likely have data in Excel files that could be used for like collection inventories that are great to practice on, because those can include all kinds of variant spellings. And then I've also used Copilot to fabricate a data set to practice on. So sometimes it's hard to get data messy enough to really dig into an OpenRefine. So that's another option if you don't have a ready supply of non-confidential data that you can use to mess around with. That's an option now too. And then one last thing to remember is that you can export your file. So the important thing to know, and there are pros and cons of this, is that your OpenRefine file just lives on your computer. So so if this computer vanished off the face of the earth, these projects would go with it. So it's important to back up that data to OneDrive or wherever you back up your important stuff to. Any questions?
Don't see any questions in the chat. People are pretty unanimously saying that it was helpful. So thank you very much for
Good.
all of that. I think we will. I think one thing we could probably do is work on OpenRefine Library Workshop has their OpenRefine kind of set, is perhaps using some of our own data for people to play with, like as like a daily thing, like, something they can go back in and keep practicing at it, just in case they're not necessarily needing to do so with their own data. And then perhaps another great demo in the future might be on using OpenRefine for merging specifically. And I know that we're doing a merge-a-thon this fall, so perhaps, I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but perhaps that might be a good thing to kind of look into a little bit. I will be sharing this recording with folks as soon as it's live on YouTube, so probably by tomorrow, because it's almost the end of my workday. And if there's any questions, can folks just reach out to you directly, or if they have any like projects in mind or anything like that?
Sure, yeah, I'll put my email in the chat.
Perfect.
Yeah, and so I really use OpenRefine almost every day. It's that versatile and that useful. So I'm always happy to talk about what it can do.
Great. So I think I think me and Jerry will circle back with you on the merge concept since we are having that merge-a-thon, and
Cool.
we'll figure out what that might look like and share information with folks about that hopefully soon. End of the semester, so I know everybody's probably ready to like take a deep sigh and go on a little bit of a vacation and then get back to work. But I don't see any other questions in the follow-up with everybody. I'll share the video and your email address and let folks know if they have any questions, they can reach out to either yourself or to the general SNAC Gmail, and we'll forward everything as needed.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you
Yeah,
all for attending. I'm sorry,
thanks
Marcella.
again. Oh, just wanted to say thanks again. Really appreciate people setting aside time for this.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time as well. And
Yeah,
we will hopefully see you all soon in some future classes. Let us know if you have any
Thanks,
questions.
Maricela. Thanks, Scotty.
Thank you,
thanks.
Jerry.